As the 48 hours extension is coming to an end, Qatar continues to call for dialogue despite the violations of international laws and regulation, despite the separation of 12,000 families, despite the siege that is a clear aggression and an insult.
Another deadline came and went, but neither Qatar nor its neighbours are willing to compromise. Doha says the list of demands set out by the Saudi-led states attacks its sovereignty. Its neighbours accuse it of supporting terrorism.
We hope that through our measures and with the help of partners, including Germany, the leadership of Qatar can increase their sense and wisdom, stop giving support to terrorism, stop supporting terrorists, and stop supporting those spreading hate speeches.
And now they say the current sanctions will continue and that more may follow if Qatar refuses to fall in line.
There is a political boycotting and there is economic boycott. This will last until Qatar will take the suitable response for the coming measures or the future measures. As the consultation will continue, and we have the sovereign right to take any measure that comes according to the international law.
Other world leaders are calling for restraint and stressing the need for dialogue to resolve this crisis.
It would be good if all the interested parties would take up the offer of dialogue from the international community. That doesn't mean that a quick solution will be found. It doesn't mean that a quick agreement will be found. It means that there can be a constructive debate about which of the accusations are justified and which not.
So far, both sides have been careful not to let politics affect their economic ties. Saudi Arabia and other countries have closed their airspace to Qatar Airways, but a gas pipeline that powers the United Arab Emirates continues to pump supplies from Qatar. And while Egypt has joined the Saudi bloc, it's refrained from acting against Qatari vessels passing through the Suez Canal. All this could change if Qatar's accusers toughen their stance. On Wednesday, the ratings agency Moody's cut its outlook for the tiny gas-rich state. And if the economic blockage continues, worse news may follow for Qatar's economy. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
Well, we have our editor-at-large Craig Copetas joining us now live from Paris. Craig, let's just take in the news lines first of all. The Saudi Arabians and the others in the Gulf Arab area have rejected Qatar's response to their demands. Is that surprising?
No, not at all. And what the Qataris' response is historically makes sense. Look, this is a centuries-old tribal feud going on down there between the Thanis, the Khalifas, the Sabas, and the House of Saud. The West had its first taste of this in around 1868 when the Saudis tried to take over Qatar and the British protectorate got rid of them. Then later on, the Khalifa clan up in Bahrain, they tried to take the place over, and it didn't work. And the reason why it didn't work, because the Al Thanis are unique within the Gulf structure. They are principally not a tribe of Bedouins. They are a tribe of merchant princes who for centuries made a lot of money in trade, primarily out of the pearl industry like the Bahrainis, fortunes of money. And because of this, they were dependent on other tribes to do their fighting for them. And that's what Mobin's piece points to here. They've now even got the Germans involved.
Craig, the Gulf is a relatively small area and is highly populated by very wealthy, very ambitious small states. And as they've grown in wealth and ambition, it's becoming quite apparent, isn't it, that they want more room, so to speak?
Well, yeah, the Arab Peninsula is not big enough to realize or sustain all of its rulers' ambitions. The pressure is building because the superpowers are selling weapons and not diplomacy into this situation. How many regional airlines can you have going forward? It is not sustainable long term.
And let me ask you about Qatar's response, which has so far been very measured and in no way proportionate to what the pressure that's been inflicted on them. But they do have a few aces up their sleeves, don't they? Including, as Mobin mentioned, the natural gas pipeline to the UAE. What would happen if they cut that pipeline?
Well, if they cut that off, then the UAE is without desalination plants and a lot of its electricity. If the Egyptians cut off the Suez Canal to Qatari shipments, then they're not going to be able to get goods out. But the larger question here is looking at this sustainability of what all these economies have cooking for them. Iran is going to be here in 100 years. Turkey's going to be here in 100 years. The Gulf states, likely not. Qatar will exist for as long as the U.S. Air Force doesn't fly away and Turkish troops remain on the ground. And the reason has to do with one very important number, Matthew. There are 896 trillion cubic feet of environmentally friendly natural gas in Qatar, 14% of the global supply. And the geologists will tell you that that gas will last a minimum of 135 years to fill global requirements. The other areas, their energy is running out. Qatar has the stockpile. It's geopolitically, economically critical for the world.
Okay, thank you very much, Craig. Money talks, so does the gas.